What's up, guys? Finally getting you on another video. I know it's been a while, so I apologize. But this video isn't really going to be any kayaking modifications or to your gear. It is something to add to your gear for kayaking, though. So let's get started. First off, you're obviously going to notice that I'm wearing my PFD. The first thing I'm going to say to y'all is please always wear your PFDs. We had a recent tragedy down here in our fishing and kayaking community. We had a kayaker that got lost for a couple of days, and then they found his body later. He wasn't wearing his PFD. He got separated from his group as a fog rolled in, so it was just everything went wrong for that poor guy. But that also got me into doing what I'm making the video of, which is going to be the survival kit. Now, I put together a small survival kit that I would take with me on my kayaking trips from now on, just in the event of something tragic happens, just like happened to that young man. But always wear your PFDs from the time you hit the water to the time you get out of the water. I do it personally because it can save my life someday. So, with that being said, the first thing that I did, I adjusted my PFD to supplement my survival. Is I took my whistle out of my pocket and I cobra weaved it to the zipper, so it doubles as a zipper pull, and also it's at the perfect length to reach right to my mouth, and I can still blow the whistle. Next thing I have, if you notice my vest, it's kind of a hunting vest because I have shotgun shell holders and multiple pockets. But that I love this vest because of that. I can store a bunch of fishing equipment and now survival gear. But I have a D-ring, and clipped to the D-ring is going to be my survival kit. Now it hangs a little just underneath the PFD, so it fits good. And when I'm sitting down on the kayak, it's actually on my lap, so it's out of the way whenever I'm rowing, getting where I need to go. But this is the kit, the box right here. It is Outdoor Products by somebody in Walmart, one of their vendors at Walmart. It's a very good box, watertight. The buckles on it's pretty good, rubber sealed all around. So you're gonna want a watertight box, obviously, because you're in the water. Let me adjust my camera so we can get it. Now, first thing we see in the box, we'll go with the brightest thing we see in the box: paracord. There's tons and tons of uses of paracord. This is 50 feet. I'm actually contemplating chopping it down to 25 feet. But for right now, it's 50 feet, and better to have more than we need. The next thing I have, it's going to be zip ties. There's many uses for zip ties also. The main reason that I have this in my kit is for shelter reasons, so I can secure down anything that I'm using for cover or for ground cover. I can secure them with zip ties. The next item in here is going to be a knife. Now, obviously, you're going to want a knife. Knife is one of the key tools that, in my viewpoint, is one of the key tools to a survival situation. Now, this is just the generic brand. It's a Sheffield knife. I don't even know the model of it. I paid like $4 for it. It was just a knife to have around. I actually threw it in my kit. Now, if you want to go spend a little more on your knife, that's up to you. I would recommend this one. It is the SOG Fielder. This is a good knife right here. I love this knife. This is my EDC knife. That's why I didn't throw it in my kit. That's a good knife. I would recommend. The next thing I have in my kit, it's going to be food. Now, the main thing, what I would recommend over this would be a Cliff Bar. That's the main thing you're going to want to focus on is carbs and proteins, and Cliff Bar will give you a lot of that. This one has some carbs and some proteins in it, but not like a Cliff Bar. The reason that I threw this one in there is because it comes with 2 bars and it also fit in the pack or in the kit, so that's why I threw this in there. I am still contemplating substituting it out for a Cliff Bar, but for the time being I have a food source. Now if I ration it off, really ration it off, I can get at the max maybe 2 days. But I'm a big guy, so I might be able to get a day and a half. But there's your food source. The next thing I have in here is going to be a multi-tool. Now it's a similar multi-tool to the regular size multi-tools. It has everything you need in there. A screwdriver, a Phillips, a flathead, a file, a knife, a can opener, and then of course pliers. This one's a compact one, so I threw it in my compact kit. It's small, but has very many uses. I've actually used this one several times. This is one that I carry in my tackle box, so I decided why not throw it in the kit. Next thing is, obviously you're gonna be fishing, so hopefully a rod or reel or combo, your rod and reel make it with you, at least one of them. But in the event that it doesn't, I have 50 feet of braided 15-pound line, and I have a live bait hook in there, and then also an egg weight to go with it. So this is my fishing kit. As far as baits, I can use insects around, and whenever I go on kayaking, right here, my shotgun shell holders, I actually use these for my lures. I place my lures in there, so that way whenever I'm wading, I have them with me. So hopefully they'll survive in the event that I turtle. So if they do survive, then I'll have those as another bait source. And another thing, you can make your own bait source. I've never gone fly fishing. I've actually created the lure a while back, and it looked pretty good. It looked like it'll work. But what you do is you take a small piece of paracord and you pull the insides out and you fray it. You fray it till it's really feathery, and then you run your hook through it, and that creates a fly fishing lure. So that's another idea you can use in case you need some type of bait. Next thing is gonna be fire. Now this is a magnesium block with I don't know if they call them furrow strikers or flint strikers, but this is to create the spark, and this is your magnesium. This is what catches. Now I normally modify mine. I haven't done this one yet. I just bought this block, so my other two are in my bug out bags. But what I do is I take this beaded thing off and this crappy thing off too. And what I do is I replace them. I run a piece of paracord through here, a long piece of paracord, and I get a hacksaw. And oh, hold on. Sorry, my daughter was calling me. But anyway, I put paracord here, and I cut about 7 or 8-inch section off of a hacksaw blade, and then I file the other end to a knife point. So that way I can use this to strike the flint or the furrow rod to get my sparks. Now the blades, you're gonna want the hacksaw blade and the teeth on there, because you're gonna use that to cut your magnesium or saw off your magnesium. That long piece that I cut off, I usually wrap the handle with duct tape. It's a handle, and it also doubles as a catcher for the magnesium shavings. What you do is you'll fold the duct tape onto itself where your sticky parts showing, and when you're scraping your magnesium, it'll stick all to your duct tape. And also the adhesive on the duct tape is it's flammable, so it holds a good flame in case you're not able to have small tinder. That'll hold a good flame to start up your little bit larger sticks. But fire, of course, it's a must. Next thing I have is light. Now obviously you might be out there a couple of nights, so you're gonna need some type of light source. This is a cap light. I usually wear my caps whenever I go fishing. In the event that it makes it, this turns into a hand-free lighting. If it doesn't make it, it's still a good little handheld light. You can use it for whatever, and also you can slip a piece of paracord through here, tie it to a bush or a tree, and have it hanging, and it'll be your area light, so you can see what you're working with in the night. But there's many other options. You can use smaller flashlights with higher lumen outputs, but this is what I have in my kit right now. The next thing I have, it's also pertaining to fire. This, I'm not really too sure what to call it. I guess a waterproof match holder multi-function tool. But this is a compass. It has a compass. If you open it, it has your signaling mirror. It has your matches. I put in there waterproof matches, so waterproof matches in a waterproof container, so they'll last. I know that. Also, it has another whistle to supplement this whistle. If this one breaks or something happens, I still have a whistle, way of signaling. And another striker right there. Now this one I really wouldn't use for fire. It throws out a good spark, but it sits a little bit high, so you would have to put your tinder pretty high in order to get it. So if I were to use this one, what I would do is probably pick it out, because it looks like it's just held in there with adhesive. I would pick it out and try to scrape it with my knife. But this one's got a pretty thick rod on there, so I don't think I'll be going through that within a couple of days. Next thing I have is mosquito repellent, insect repellent. This is good right here. It's compact and it competes with the Backwoods brand. This one, it carries 98.11 DEET. Now that's going to be the highest DEET that I've seen on a repellent. And this is good because the areas that I fish, or the areas that I would wash up on that I fish, they have mosquitoes, chiggers, ticks, and horseflies. So this is good to repel. I actually used it the last time I went out, and I got lucky because I found a tick on my leg, but it wasn't biting me. It was just crawling around, so I flicked it off. But the mosquitoes weren't even touching me when I sprayed that stuff on there. I missed these. These are the strikers for the match holders, for the matches that are in the match holder. Unfortunately, it doesn't come with its own striking pad, so I cut these off of the box. And then I have duct tape along with a paracord. There's tons of uses for duct tape. Normally you would go with a length of the ID or the credit card. I went with, of course, for packaging purposes and space issues. But I did get a good amount of duct tape in there. And the last thing that I have in my kit is toilet paper. Now, sure, you can go all out and be all outdoorsman and not throw this in there and wipe your butt with leaves. That's completely your discretion, but I prefer to wipe my butt with toilet paper for a couple of days at least until I have to resort to leaves. The other thing that this doubles as is tinder for your fire. If you're unable to get any type of dry material to start your fire, as far as tinder, then you have toilet paper to start your fire and fire up your bigger sticks. So there's that. That's the survival kit portion. A couple of things that I would add to them would be a mylar blanket, so I can use that for warmth. A 55-gallon trash bag, 5 mil thickness, that doubles as ground cover, or actually it's several things. Ground cover. If I'm not using it for ground cover, I can use it for shelter, because it's almost exactly like a tarp, and many other things. I can use it as a container to put water in, and then I would add a laminated map of the area that I would be fishing, so that way I can know more or less where I would land up at, and see more or less how far I am to getting back to my car or back to my area or where I left. And photo family, that's a comfort section, but it gives you a lot of hope and a lot of will to survive, looking at your family and knowing that they're there with you. Now water, I understand I didn't have water in my kit. Where I fish, it's all salt water, so I would have to use several desalination techniques that I've researched, and I haven't actually done them yet, but in theory they seem pretty easy, so hopefully I can get a chance to practice them before anything happens to me. But there are desalination techniques that I can use as far as using fire and the sun, so that's how I would get my water. The next thing, you obviously didn't notice anything medical. That's because I have a small medical kit inside my pockets. Now the medical kit, it was a store-bought one, so stuff in here is pretty generic. I did add a couple of things in there myself, but this is my medical kit. Let me get these out. You see these tubes right here? These are actually straws. What I did with them, put that aside. Oh, this is also a waterproof casing. So has the rubber seal right there, so all my stuff stays dry, and it's also packed in baggies so it stays dry too. The tubes here, I have the green and the orange. Now the green is aloe vera. It's a small tube, I know, but some type of comfort's better than none. So I have aloe vera in here, and in here I have Neosporin. I color coded them so that way I know without having to mark them. In here, the only thing that came in here is basically alcohol swabs and prep pads. Basically alcohol swabs. Also, I think I have some burn cream in there, but that's it. So I added ibuprofen, about 10 tabs of ibuprofen in there, so that way I can deal with any pain or anything like that, you know. So ibuprofen's in there, and then the alcohol swabs. The next thing is going to be in here. It's bandages of different sizes and gauze, and then there is medical tape. Now, along with being tinder and toilet paper, you can also use that as makeshift gauze. It won't be sterile gauze, but it'll be something to clot the area or stop the bleeding, to help you stop the bleeding. That's where your medical tape, you wrap it around that. Another thing that I added in here was a super glue. Super glue, I have used it to seal up a pretty good gash I had in my finger, and it worked great. So I threw super glue in there just in case. Now, in the event that it's something bigger than super glue is able to fix, I did add a small sewing kit. And this is not only for medical uses, but for several other uses too. I mean, say you lose your button on your pants or a shirt or something like that while you're out there, and you want to wear your clothes, you know, you can just fix it with your simple sewing kit that you have in here. What I did was I wrapped about 30 feet of sewing thread around a piece of cardboard, and I stuck 4 needles in there in case I lose one. But that's my medical kit. And along with medical, I didn't put it in the kit because it didn't fit, but what I have in this pocket is actually these tubes right here. They're similar to the small ones, but they're thicker. These are regular straws. These are milkshake straws. What I did was I filled these up with sunscreen. Now I have 3 of these tubes in here, so I can at least have some coverage for the days that I'm lost. But there's sunscreen there. Now the other stuff that I mentioned that I would add to the kit, those would go in my opposite pocket here, since I don't have anything in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold up the 55-gallon trash can, and I'm going to stick the mylar blanket in there, so that way they fit in here. They're plastic, so it really doesn't matter if they get wet or not. They will dry off fairly quick. So, but that's my survival kit, guys. Please, please, please wear your PFDs, and you can also supplement and take out things that I had in there and add anything with your own to make it truly your own kit. But other than that, guys, be safe, use caution, and tight lines.